What's going on, Grand Rising? What's going on? Today is Friday the 13th, 2026, right? March, Friday the 13th, 2026. What we're going to be looking at today is the NQ market, the futures market, as a whole. And we'll also be looking a little bit at silver and gold and oil just to kind of eyeball what's going on and to help out with our bias. And as well, we'll be looking at a little bit of dollar, okay? So what I'm going to do here over the next 10 minutes is just finish marking up YM and ES because I've already got everything pretty much set for NQ for today. Pretty crazy price. They sell off price from 24,650 all the way down to 24,400. And by looking at this, let me just mark this really quick. 24,450s, 24,450s. So basically going down from 650 to 450 is about 200 plus handles, right, to get to 400 level. Then they bounce the price, right, off of that market open, which we anticipated this new week opening gap, right, to be filled. Then the dip under the market open, right, come to the 24,400 key level, which we anticipated being inside the massive demand candle of this 4 hour, which we still could reach lower, but we did anticipate this across the board. So when I start showing the other two here in a second, you'll see that they're relatively all in the same spot, okay? And so, let me see here. So yeah, so let's go ahead and mark up the rest of the assets here, and then we'll talk really quickly on dollar and what we kind of anticipate for what's happening with the gold and silver markets, okay? So let me make sure everything's good on here. Make sure I can see the chat. I can see the chat. Cool. Okay, cool. So let me go ahead and do this really quickly. H1s here. H1, H1, H1. We kind of started to mark them up. So let me start with ES because ES to me is the most important one for comparison with my NQ trades. And then we'll kind of go over a bias here. Okay, so do this. Previous day high would have been. I don't have to do that. Forgot. This is the previous day high. Now this is our high on week. So when you see HOW, that just means high on week for me. And I'm going to talk about the bias here in just a second. Okay, daily open, previous day low. We need to know that range. 1700. So this would have been a part of the yesterday's. So this was previous day low, and then what I'm going to do is show this as a sign of bullishness right now. Okay, high on week, previous day low versus high. We know where the week low is as well. Is there anything else that I could think of? Okay. And so previous day high, previous day low. Let's mark the opens here. Friday is open here for ES. And we're looking at London, so the overnight price. Oof, they joystick people at London. Daily market, London. Okay, cool. And then we don't need this one anymore. And just going off of what we're seeing here across the board, which we're going to finish up these markups here, to me it just seems more than likely that they're going to continue higher. Because I was looking for, especially like on YM, I was looking for this area, 46,600 level, key level for me to deliver inside this demand. We've seen the overnight price fall over, what is that, 6, 7, 8, 9, almost 400 some points. I got to see if the actual top was 47. I don't know for sure, but falls over almost 400 points. People get to that higher time frame covering zone. They start to cover overnight, and now we see price back this way. Okay, so I'm seeing more continuation through the area and shorts to cover for today, but we're not going to marry the bias. We'll play with what we see. What's up, Chris? What's up, bro? Let's see if we can find a little setup here. Now just remember this too, guys, really quick, because here at 8:25 I'll stop talking as much, but our goal isn't to be on here. The goal is to be on here for latest 11:15, but if we can finish the session in 15 or 20 minutes and catch a 1 to 3, 1 to 5, and we feel good about that, then we're done, right? Because I don't want to. There's no reason to sit here and analyze more and more. I'll just go over that in the trade review, okay? So let's see here. So let's finish marking this up. We got London, we got daily, we got previous day high, previous day low. We've got initial balance highs, right? So like that's really important here with ES as well, is this initial balance high, and then we have an initial balance low, okay? And so I believe, let's say this is our initial balance high. All right, same thing with YM here. We'll mark those up. Let's move London's, move New York, move those little boxes in there. Okay, and let's mark those opens. We need to be done with those opens by 25. All right, Friday is open. Okay. And it's crazy because me and Tay, we talked about this on the 4 hour. We talked about, price coming to 46.6. I was like, they're gonna bounce. I literally we were talking about it, and I was like, bro, if they go below previous day low, this was yesterday's low, and they don't hold the price under that area for long, then they'll take it back up. Okay. Previous day high on this is going to be here, so we have not that far to go, right? And then the high on week is, that's crazy high for YM, so could be a massive opportunity in that. So we got daily, we got London, and then we want to know the low of day, right? So this is going to be our lower day of our initial balance low, all right? Whichever one you want to call it for this. All right, same thing with ES. So that's the other thing too, because initial balance low, because they've ran up so fast overnight, if they were to fall over for some reason, then the initial balance low and week low obviously would be the targets, right? Getting into those demands, we have such a far room to fall on NQ if they were down into this inefficiency here, 24,200s, that it could be very tricky, okay? So definitely going to be on P's and Q's today. So we got daily, we got previous day low, IB, everything's pretty much marked, okay? So we'll go into the analysis, okay? So seeing with dollar index, when dollar index is moving up or down, it does affect the markets. So with them pushing up and coming to a massive level of supply here in that 100 psychological number, they have two options. Either they're going to break to the 105, the 150 level, or they're going to start seeing some weakness like you're kind of seeing here at 120, 110, and start pushing back into that daily open 99.70, which if that happens, most likely there's a good chance, right, on these directional bias plays for what we're seeing over here. Let me turn these off. For what we're seeing over here on the 4 hours for a directional play, I could see us pushing back into supply. So like NQ, 24,800, ES, like somewhere in those 67.40s, 67.50s, and then YM could be back into yesterday's daily open and previous day high, right, if they bounce out of this area. Now, looking at the 1 hours and seeing how we already, excuse me, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. here with NQ. Obviously, if you look in the middle as well, right, in that same candle on each one, we're actually closing bodies higher, except on this one. They're not closing the bodies higher on this 6 to 7 a.m. But if you look at ES and you look at NQ, one thing I've already noticed in my pre-market analysis is that we're closing higher. So we could be looking for buy continuation trades to get up to the supply 24,900. So yeah, that's pretty much what I'm seeing going into this. Now if we do roll back over into the initial balance, we obviously have the low of day here for NQ. We obviously have a range like here, and we would see price maybe come back into daily open, or if it just really capitulates and sells off, then they're going to take everything. Okay, so we'll see what we get. I'm not going to overanalyze it. Like I said, I'm just looking for a specific 1 to 3, 1 to 5, and to be able to get off the board. But it looks pretty good, okay, when you're looking at like all three of them. So and then really quick, it's 24. I'm not going to go too much over oil or anything like that. Make sure that you guys are marking up QQQ as well, understanding where that liquidity is, right? Because there's a lot of people short on option plays, right? And we have a massive consolidation here as well. Just this prints relatively with NQs. So to see the overnight price and see how this opens is going to be interesting too. Okay. Yeah, so 8:25 here. Like I said, I'm going to lock in. I'm going to probably move you guys over to the middle screen so we can kind of watch 15.5 together and see what executions we're going to take. Now, remember this, guys, just for people who maybe are new or people who've been trading me for a while, I like to take trades in the first 15 minutes of an hour or the last 15 minutes of an hour. And I like to take trades with the 5-minute candle close most of the time. So like, for example, let's just say we were taking a trade here at 8:25. I like to be watching the 1 minute, like smaller time frames at 8:24 to take that transition of that 5-minute candle. So that if you see me about to take a setup, just remember that a lot of times that's when I'm usually taking it. Okay, and also as well, I'm usually going to put up the risk reward box right before I'm starting to frame up the trade. Okay, so let's move over to the middle screen. That way we can get locked in here on 15.5. And I do kind of see them, since they are, let's go over here real quick. Since they are up so much on the overnight price, I could see them recovering some of this healthy, rapid move up, right? So, because since essentially 3:30 a.m., right, like 3 a.m., they've just pumped the price almost 300 handles, right, above that key level. So, be locked in here. Let's see what we get. I kind of like how it's already breaking down, but like I said, I'm gonna be patient today. Remember, today, superstition-wise, is Friday the 13th, so no curses. Let's just win. All right. Oh, and I can record. Nice. Okay. All right, so we got all this set. That's good. Okay. Cool. Now, just because sometimes really quick too, like if you see me frame up something like this, doesn't always mean I'm going to take it, but there's a good chance. So I just want you guys to understand, like, because sometimes sales move so fast, there might be a move that's fitting inside my 15-minute area that I really like, right? And then I want to take to the downside here to go into New York. But as of right now, like I said, I'm gonna post up really quick, kind of just chill. But I do like how they're creating the FU, right here at the initial balance high, and they've respected the 24,680 level. Algorithmic markets really love 20 levels for buy side, and they really love 80 levels as well. So, all right, guys, let's lock in. Let's see what we get. Okay. I do like the sell side already, but I'm gonna let that New York open up. What's the massive red line again? I forgot. Oh, okay. Nice sell off. Nice crown. This crown formation above old highs, right? The high of day is very interesting. I do like the shorts, but like I said, I'm gonna wait till New York opens today. I feel like we got a lot of price to play. Okay, let's lock in here. And see, that's why you definitely don't want to short pre-market, because they do stuff like that, okay? Somebody got blasted. Somebody got blasted. Trying to be ahead of people. The market loves people like that. Okay. Now I am about to lock in on this 5-minute area, okay? So I do like that inversion, how it's starting to form already. Right, to the downside. So let's see here. Something like this. Potentially. But I'm going to be watching small time price action first to see, because they could definitely fill more of the wick first here. So this isn't an entry yet. I almost tried to take an execution on the wrong window, or a retard. Very choppy right now. I don't really see it yet, but it looks pretty good from this area. But I need to see more signs of weakness here. ES looks pretty strong still, so like watching the 1 minute here on my right, I don't really see price rejecting that 5-minute supply yet in this 80s, but if we see it, we may take this area. I like those 660s, to be honest. Just trying to see this first 5-minute close though too, because it could be very manipulative. But I do like that structure break lower. Just waiting. Now, if they go above that purple, the 690s, like they start reaching for 700s, this will be invalid, and I'll still be waiting. Like right now, it looks invalid on the 1 minute. Okay, cool. So good. We're still waiting on this. I haven't taken a trade yet. Now, if this 5-minute close is relatively strong, and we, even though we want the price to roll over possibly, we could still see a move higher, right? Because everybody's like, oh, well, it's going to sell off because everyone's already long. But it's like, same time, this 5-minute closes specifically a certain way could switch up everything. Let's see, though. The small time frame 1 minute prices is way too choppy for me right now. They're failing to go above the initial balance high though. ES looks pretty strong. Alright, I am going to still frame up this area just a slight bit here. One minute starting to roll. Damn. All right, that 5-minute close. I like these 60s, guys. I think I'm gonna end up shorting here at 60s. Let me see here. Watching the small, yeah, I like that area. Let's try it. Okay. All right, so if you're in that trade, make sure you have your limit buy already set, okay? So that you can go break even if we deliver here. Let me pull this over here. I think we're gonna get that. All right, so this is essentially how mine looks right now. We'll see though. They need to reach down there if they're gonna do it in this 5-minute candle. We'll see what they what they do here. I like this area. Now, what I'm looking at personally, if we get close to 600s, I'm covering the position with full volume because it doesn't make sense not to. It's an opening range trade, so if you took this trade, you could go ahead and be covering, depending on your entry. Like if your entry's in the 650s or higher. Right, so if you're 650s or higher, right, then I would say you could be covering your position to get to the first partial potential. So for example, let me show this here. So if it comes back, it is what it is, right? But at least you attempted the area. So anything above New York Open. So my partial or my break even just hit on that one. So let's see what we get. Watch a little bit higher time frame here. And I like to go even or break even a lot of the times on those opening range trades because they're fake outs. We were very close to the 1 to 3R though on that one. Write this down real quick. So close actually. Okay, and the first minute was where? Okay, 5 minutes starting to show strength after that fast move, right? So that's to me just basically, like I said, it was just a quick move that they tried to pull, and that now we should see possible continuation. But I'm not gonna buy or anything like that. Straight bullish. Okay. So I'm just just framing this area up in case I see a rollover type of trade on the sell side. But as of right now, let me look at this. I do like how they're stacking that candle actually, so I'm gonna be patient here. The 5 minute looks just more bullish to me with that type of candle right here, but we'll see. Yes. But I still am going to frame this 15-minute area because this could be a fake out area, I feel like, still, too. Just to have an idea if it starts to roll, how I'm going to play it, okay? But I would like to see them push the high of day really quick. That'd be really nice as well. Starting to look more like demand here at 24,660s to go higher. Just gotta be patient. What time is it? 40 to 45. Okay, so that's invalid. Like I said, I'm not looking to take that unless the signal presents, but I'm just eyeballing the area, okay? But I do like the buys up, like we talked about on H1 here really quick, up into 24,800 if they slip this HOD. And yesterday, if I would have took the short, it would have been perfect. And then today, they're like, well, if you took the short here and the signal, you had to cover very quickly in the opening range trade, so. I think I'm floating like 13 bucks in profit. All right, now really quick, that YM trade is moving a lot faster, so that's really interesting here. Let me write this down. Let me check that QQQ. QQQ looks like it's gonna fill the gap of 605s. Okay. If you guys are in any trades, let me know. Like I said, I'm not in those type of buys because that just doesn't. I was already in the shorts, so. 840 to 845. Okay, so now that we're kind of seeing this, a 15-minute demand and a 5-minute, they're starting to set up price a little bit better to me now. Let's see here, possible demand level here. And then I'm done trading by 11:15, so if it doesn't happen by then I'm good. We'll see how it plays. Nice, new high on day, right? So that's signs of strength. Now most people will try to buy a breakout here, and this is, or buying on the way up, they're stuck inside of expansions, right? Buying on the 1 minute, and they're basically just trying to force a trade right here at key level to push it higher. Some people are successful with those, but most of the time they don't realize that their risk is, they're at risk as they get inside those expansions. But good continuation up for the bias that we were looking for, I will say that. Those 4 hours blasted from below market open overnight, man. That's the disrespect. The disrespect. The disrespect. Now I will say this really quick, just because it's just printing, is when it made the draw on liquidity, then the sell side moves like very quickly and then comes back into the range, and then the next candle 840 to 845 candle opens. There is possible an area here to play up to that 1 to 3 up to the high on day for sure. but I was already, like I said, closing out those shorts. So let's lock in though, because they are going to, I don't see buyers really exiting at this point until the inefficiency, which like we have the imbalance here from yesterday's New York Open. And so they could, somewhere in this area here start to get weak. But also what we're really looking for is that 24,870s area where the supply candle is. 840 to 845, first 15 minutes, it's super explosive. Super bullish. Damn, that was 100 handle candle. Now we're looking at for the day, right? The day for the day they're up 400 handles on the day, guys. Like this is crazy, dude. That overnight play was so ridiculous. But if you are in any setups, depending on where you got in, you could drop your price in the chat, and then we can always plot stuff too to kind of have an idea of how to manage it. I like those 4 hours. All right, let's stay locked in here, and then see this, because we have reached into the 4-hour supply here, hitting 24,800. So I'm watching small time frames here really tight, guys. So I'll kind of frame up what it looks like potentially if I start seeing weakness on smaller time frames. Something like this, like to start playing. Oh shit, that 1 minute starting to look pretty good. So I kind of like these 24,783s, but let's see how this candle closes here on 1 minute. It's pretty solid. Yeah, I like these 83s, 24,000. We'll see how it closes here in this minute. Yes. Okay. Yeah, it's not looking the part yet. So could probably attempt these 83s and put your risk at the high of day. But might be a little aggressive, but let's see how this 1 minute plays out. Essentially I'm looking at it like this, right? This area here to get just to here. If we get below 762s and you're in, I'm gonna cover my position from 84. So if we go below that 1 minute low, so essentially here, if we go below this area right here, I'm gonna probably go ahead and cover that. Nice. All right, I'm covering the 784s. All right, so risk off on that. From 784. Now, if we get the 1 to 3 to deliver, we want to focus on where New York low is, which this is our New York low, because that's a great target. But like I said, I'm break even on that from 784. So kind of looks like this. Sorry. All right, so it looks just like that, and I have my limit buy sitting at the 725. So if we deliver that, that'll be a small win, and then I'll make sure I'm already break even a little early here. This is looking good. pretty good here. I want to have the 15.5 for my recording, sorry, just for the price here. I need to mark New York low over here. New York low. We're close to this 1.5 partial, right? So I mean, we're very close. Let's see if they give it to us or not. I feel like the entry was okay, like pretty good. I'm gonna plot this position as well. 784s, wow. They're kind of starting to V-shape recover. Higher time frame, it looks like a good location. I will say that, like 4 hour, 1 hour. So I do like that. I'm gonna show that really quick. Over here, right, when you plot your position, remember I talked about the inefficiency and I talked about the supply candle being an area. So this candle here being an area that we want to see a rejection possibly. Deliver our 1.5. Looks pretty solid when you look at a 1 minute here, but it's just like it would have to go down here fairly quickly. Okay, now we just wait. Like I said, I'm break even. Like I showed you guys from the where's my entry? 784s. I've got my risk 2 points in profit. So just in case this does rally. They are bullish. Let's see, check ES here really quick. Some weakness on ES, definitely weakness on YM, right? Almost 150 handles down on YM, so it'll be interesting to see how this 5 minute closes here. Because it's Friday, if you wanted to, if you have enough volume, you could cut half your volume if you like. But I'm personally just going to let it play out. It's either going to come back to my BE for a small, like very small win, or it's going to deliver this 725 level for the partial. They look pretty strong. So cool. Make sure you remove your, that was BE basically for me. So make sure you remove your partial if you put your partial, because if you forget, then it goes lower here, then it'll activate that order, okay? So far 2 BEs essentially for me. Could have probably taken a little small win from that situation there, but I'll be patient still. So I still like this area to possibly work out. Just depends on how it presents itself. But until I see it more smooth on a 15.5, then I'll just wait. It looks pretty good over there though, guys. Let me make sure it wants this. Just gonna remove this too. So unless it looks clean to me on a 15.5, I'm going to be patient. I am gonna monitor this area for 1 to 3s. Take a look at ES, still kind of looking wicky. Now I'm not taking a trade here, I'm just monitoring to see how that 5-minute candle is going to present to potentially give a chance. Otherwise it's just a higher high, so I don't want to. But that might have just been a stop rate on those first moves, so. And you can use that like this if you want the high day risk. Small time frame looks pretty good, guys, I will say. So if you like that area, I mean, it's up to you. It looks really good. Let's see here, limit buys. Limit buy area would still be like around that 725 area if it does roll over. But we gotta see. If they slip below here, like they slip below this 1 minute, and let's say you took a short in this area, if they slip below this 1 minute structure, I would be break even. If you have anything above 760s, okay. Okay, so we slipped that low. If you took this trade in this area, I would be risk off. It depends on where you got it. I ended up getting 68s. So it just depends on you. It's like right here. Excuse me, 73s. Is that right? Yeah. Basically 70 level. So let me remark this really quick. But I like this slip of this and to reach into this inefficiency key level. So this is kind of how I'm playing it right now, just so you guys can see. Is I'm already like risk off on the trade, and I have my limit buy set, right? Just like we talked about. And then I want to replot this area, see what it looks like on a higher time frame. We just delivered, or did we deliver? Oh, okay, no. From the, let's say here, this would be the 770s. So kind of hesitation. And that's why I'm break evens, because I needed to get that entry around 80. Let's see here. Plot it. Okay, and I'm just doing that so I can see it on the higher time frame, like if it's in the right supply zones, and as if the 1 hour is wicking and stuff like that. Okay. Now if they V-shape recover this, then I mean they're savages. So. We're looking for those 720 or 710s to deliver. So it looks like this. We're looking for 710s, 708s to deliver for the partial. And then we're already break even. So what you want to do if you do get this delivery here, I'll explain on this screen here because it's too hard to watch the price level and that. So if we do get this level, I'm looking at like New York low being a target, right? Is a really, really good target. And then back to daily open, right? Inside the imbalance inefficiency here on the 15 and H1, okay? And then you always want to know where your 5 to 1 are, so what you're risking. You always want to know where that is, okay? And that's back inside where? And back inside the demand, okay? So looks like we are getting ready to get that partial delivery for a pretty solid win on the day. But we'll see. This is where they get crazy. Let's see if they spike it. They come back up for this when they're dirty. Before the partial delivery, at least. Very well could, though, because there's a nice inefficiency on that 1 minute where the entry is. All right, came back for very close. They're about, my entry, my risk is at 67.75, so we'll see what they do. Let me check the other assets here. Okay. We see this 5 minute go below 750s fairly quickly here and reject off that supply, then there's definitely going to be a good chance I think we get our delivery of our 1.5R. So this is pretty much how tight mine looks right here, right? And then this isn't obviously my final TP, but just in case, right, we get that low of day, then that's kind of what we're looking for, something down there, okay? But as long as we get this, like I've already have a small win on the day from the partial in that first move, but as long as we get this, then this is a solid win for the day, and then we get to manage the rest of the trade to see, and that's if. Right now they're kind of V-shaped recovering, so we'll have to see a rejection right here on that 15.5. So like I said, depending on your entry, if you're anything above 760s, that definitely would be break even. All right, let's see. Getting ready to get that delivery. Bang! Come on, deliver it. We're so close. So close. Bang! So no matter what, guys, we just secured 400 across the account, or excuse me, 200 across the accounts. So now it's a risk-free trade. You let this thing play out, and we'll continue to manage, okay? Let's get it. Let's go. I told you, no curses around here. I don't give a shit if it's Friday the 13th, baby. Let's go. That's all we needed right there. So make sure you're break even on this trade, and we'll continue to manage down, okay? I love it. This is a beautiful setup. Beautiful. If you've lost a trade and this is your second trade, I would go ahead and TP, or trail your risk, to the top of this area. But me personally, I like to see at least this 1 to 5 area delivered on the remainder, right? Because that means I've covered 1.5, and then I'm gonna hit 2.5 if I was to close there. Either way, I'll be good. I'm personally good with the 1.5 on the day to end the week. That's really nice. But I feel like since we have buyers all the way up from daily open, this candle could really get weak down to New York low. And then I'll show you guys the comparative strength analysis here in a second. But that 4 hour area as well, if this, like, they start to V-shape recover, whatever. But on the 4 hour area, if you look at this, we did find a really good area. We found a good area of supply potentially to then roll. Okay. Solid. Yeah, they're wildin', but I still think this is a pretty good one. Okay. 1 hour inefficiency, right? So you always want to know as well, like, where those are. Let me make sure I got this really quick. Where's the game box? I'll have to find it. I don't know where it's at right now. But basically all I'm saying is just looking at this area here on the higher time frames here on that 1 hour and understanding that this is a fair value gap, right? I don't know if you guys, I call them imbalances. Fair value gaps are the same thing, okay? So seeing that fair value gap on the higher time frame lets me know, right? That's New York price from yesterday. That lets me know that that's a great area of transition potential, okay? To anticipate my entry signals, right? So now we wait. Let's go, Chris. You hit your 1 to 3. Let's go. I'm telling you, bro. Honestly, a lot of the times on the sessions, to be real, we hit 1 to 3 very quickly. And if you like your 1 to 3, which it's, for me, it's a really good one. It's like about $400 or $500, bro. Those are banger trades, dude. That's all you really need. And a lot of times those happen in like 5 minutes or less. You got me hyped, Chris. I need to chill out. I gotta stay calm here. Got the calm music playing in the background. So again, I want to show this for higher time frame perspective since we have a second. We've got the 1 hour inefficiency imbalance, fair value gap. We have the supply on the 4 hour that we rejected, which that's where you want to see buyers exit positions. And then we just have chop on this daily. It's just terrible, right? So we'll see. I really like with no 5 minute strength here like this. I really like them to deliver the New York lows, because think about how many people bought, especially right in here. They bought this area on the way up and they're trapped. Okay. Be impatient here. Now we can do a comparison here. Look at ES, guys. 15 minute NQ, 15 minute on the right, 15 minute ES. I kid you not, if you go back and study these prices, you could have definitely taken a 1 to 3 here as well. Same time, and I like these more because I only like to risk 5 points per trade. So like 5 point risk would have been like this. So getting in like right in here, and you're already at over a 1 to 3 R on that trade, okay? Like on ES. So when I take a trade on NQ like this, you can definitely go over and take your trades on ES as well. 532 to be exact. Let's go, Chris. Let's go. No curses. Friday the 13th. Let's go. DM me, Chris, and we'll let's connect this weekend too, bro. So I don't think I've ever met you, respectfully. Now, here's the thing. If you've got that remainder still on, like I do, right? That you've already hit your partial and you've got your remainder break even, what you want to do is monitor as it gets to the 1 to 5. Now, imagine it gets there. Let's say it slips this liquidity, right? So it slips the New York low. You're looking at like a 9 to 1, right? So getting below that low. And guys, what I'm really reading is just structure. You see what I mean? That's all it really is. And so if we get to that area, you would want to trail your risk by 2R behind the market. So if you get to this liquidity grab, I would say you need to know that this is a 9R. So what's 2 minus 9, right? 7. So you trail your risk to basically New York open. If price breaks this low, I'll probably go ahead and trail everything down to New York just to secure the bag. You know what I mean? Because it can easily respond here in this area off demand. Okay. And if you don't want to risk anything, go ahead and secure out your 1 to 2 on the remainder, right? So you can go ahead and trail your risk if you wanted to here. But me personally, what I'm doing is just staying break even, and then looking for that higher time frame area to deliver through the New York low. So down to this level here. But it's up to the trader. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling you what to do. But it's Friday. It's early, right? It's still only 9:10. Buyers could definitely step in here. But like I said, they already had a massive push up, and all their stop losses have to be sitting, I would think, under this low. Runner, I'm a friend of Tay from high school. Hell yeah, bro. Tay's my boy. That's my boy, man. What's good, Steven? Trades with Steven. Good to meet you, bro. Welcome. We've already took a trade. We partialed out of our 1 to 3 R, so basically a 1.5 risk reward just to make sure we secure the bag, and then now we're just monitoring price potentially running to the equal lows. But we also are identifying that this is a demand level where shorts could start to cover, and price could run back up and hit us for the break even on the remainder. But this is essentially what it looks like. Is we took our partial here, 24,710s, and then we have the remainder just sitting for potential. Now I have it set for down here, but most likely I'm going to trail the trailing risk. If we take the New York low, I'm going to trail that trailing risk to like New York open or 24,650s, but that's if we get that level. Okay. If you want, it's Friday, you know what I mean? I have 2 contracts still left on the board. If you want, you could cut one down. But I run a very systematic math system here. And so, like I said, instead of cutting it down, what I would do is just trail out your 1 to 2. Because that's still securing 1 R, basically. So if you want to secure something for sure, and you don't want this to come back, go ahead and move your risk from the entry to like here, 24,710. So you're securing 3 R, but because we've already cut half the move, you'd be securing another 1.5, which makes you have a 3 R day. If you can maintain 3 R risk reward ratio, it's a profitability factor. Okay. I like the New York lows to deliver. So I think I'm gonna, on my futures positions, I think I'm gonna target New York lows here, 24,600s. And on CFD, I'm gonna let it run. But like we'll see how aggressive they are here. If they're very aggressive on this 5 minute through this area, then I'm gonna continue to trail the market by 2 R. And then remember, I gave the ES trades as well. Essentially, like when I'm taking the trade on NQ, you're relatively going to be getting the similar price action on ES. And so, I mean, 5 handle risk in that situation, your 1 to 5 is like it's a very tight trade, but it produces, you know what I mean? And then getting back to daily open or point of interest gives you almost over a 1 to 10 risk reward. Dude, you take 2 of those a week, you're good. Okay, just being real. This is a great way to finish the week here. Okay, we want to know where our 1 to 5 is. Okay, because if we start to push very violently, what you can do is you can trail that risk to the 1 to 5 zone. So 24,670 is like if it starts to really break. That way you only have half the volume, right? So if you trail out of a 1 to 5, you're essentially trailing out a 2.5, okay? And they are responding pretty well here in demand, but let me check the higher time frames here. Yeah, I like that H1. So like looking at it from this perspective here, right? So that's support resistance, initial balance high, right? That was the initial high of the day. So if buyers want to reclaim price and continue this bullish run, they'll do it right here, okay? But if they don't, for example, right, they don't respect this demand, then what you're going to get is a slip back into the inefficiency here and back to daily open. Okay, let's be patient here. If you want, you could run like if you have 2 contracts still left, you could run 1 contract here, like place it here, and then stay break even on the remainder for a runner for the day. Okay, just to secure. I mean, because we've already secured the bag on that partial. I like how aggressive they're already getting on this 5 minute though. Structure shows that they could go higher. That's the only thing I would say. Okay, let's be patient here. Be patient here. I'm gonna put 1 contract, guys, at 24,708. Okay, so stop by at 24,708. It's just one. All right. So I'm gonna show you how that looks. Okay. So basically, what I'm doing is I'm securing some of that move, right? And I'm break even from the remainder. So I want to see it get through this level. And then what I'll do most likely is remove this stop buy, and then I'll trail the market if we just dip below, okay? It looks pretty good, to be honest, so I'm going to be patient. Ooh, come on. Do your thing, chicken wing. When you place a trade with 5 contracts, do you close 2 or 3 contracts? Me personally, I like to work in even numbers, so I'd rather work in 4, 6s. You get what I'm saying? Because that way I'm closing 50% of the volume down. But if that's the situation that you're in, I would do about 2, because 2.5 would make 5, right? So 3 would actually put you a little bit over more than 50% of your move. So like if I bumped up from 4 contracts, I would bump up to 6 or 8 to 10, right? Because if I use 10, which is 1 mini essentially on micros, then I'd be cutting 5 contracts. So that's the goal. Guys, we're starting to make that move down. H1 looks beautiful. Look at that. I mean, like, can't make this shit up, like, on how the 4-hour and stuff looks. All right. Bangers. Alright, we gotta stay calm though. This is what we're supposed to do. Now, I say this is a demand level, but I'm only saying that because of understanding of like where buyers can come in. But because of how high it is, right, it doesn't mean that people are gonna buy off this area. And they still could, right? Until we actually get a body close on this 5 minute below this candle here, I'm not sold on this area going lower. So until we get a body close, like this candle here, we need to close below here, like actual body, not wick. That would make me feel like, okay, we're actually gonna go lower. If you're in a position to where you're like, well, I don't know what they're going to do and I don't want to really risk it, put all your risk right there, right? Put all your risk at 24,684 if that's what you want to do. I got to be careful what I say. I forgot about that part. Banger. Let's go. We came back. Yesterday I had a small loss, right? It's part of the game. And then came back today and we got a nice little banger, okay? And then you guys know the key level, if we really run on those runners today, obviously we have a lot of room. If you look at a 4-hour here, we have a lot of room still to get down into the demand candle, right? So if we really slip lower, it could get crazy, okay? But we got to see this area break if they're going to do it. If not, I'm honestly thinking about going ahead and securing out the full remainder at the 24,685s. If we're not going to get this 5 minute to close with some weakness here, because they're starting to respond here at daily, or excuse me, at New York Open. Okay, 5 minute bearish close, that's a good sign. I don't like how the 1 minute looks though. So guys, I'm probably going to be out of there. Let's see here. I'm going to actually trail everything down on mine to 24,695, okay? All right, so 695s are secured on the remainder. All right, so like right here, they hit that and I'm good for the day, okay? So I'm watching this area very tight right here. You could use 700s if you like. I'm just keeping it tight though today. So I'll kind of show how it looks, sorry. So I'm keeping it very tight right there. If they reach up and hit that area, so be it. If they don't and roll, great. I kind of want a runner, to be honest. I almost want to set one contract there, but I'm like I said, I've got this on CFD as well, so I'm gonna be patient. I feel like we did pretty good today, though. So let me post this right here because I'd like to watch this screen with you guys because I don't like to watch my P&L move, if that makes sense. If you guys have been trading long enough, you guys know. So risk is off right here, just so you guys know. Right at this level. Let's see if we roll. Take a screenshot here really quick. Executions. Now, just from our multiple standpoint as well, that's essentially securing with that risk off area, depending on your entry, about a 1 to 4, but we've already cut half, so that'd still be a 2R. So think about it. I said if you want to be profitable, you need 3R multiples. So that would already be 1.5 plus half of 4 is 2. What's that make, right? 3.5R. So it's all about risk reward ratios and thinking in probabilities, okay? Price is still holding up really good at that initial balance high, which is signs of strength to me. So that's why I have my risk off in this area. 1 minute price is starting to stack too, so. We'll see. ES and YM are definitely down. I believe Tay sold 47, I think he said. I'll have to look at the chat here in a minute. I like the prices from 47, 150. I'll go over those areas and talk about inefficiencies and stuff as well. Just want to see if we're going to get a sync here today. Nice little roll. Let's see if they roll over here. That 5-minute sign of strength close right there is very interesting. So we'll see. All right, starting to show strength off that level. And if they just come up and hit the risk off area and then fall, I'll still be happy, to be honest with you guys. Still a really good day, so. Bang. So cool. That'll be it for today. I'm not going to look to try to trade anything else. I'm not going to try to buy it back up or anything like that. We got our position that we wanted. We were able to execute and scale the position how we wanted. And yeah, so I'll kind of go over some higher time frame positions, like what we're trying to see now. And if you do have the CFD trade, I'm not personally doing anything to. I'm going to leave it completely risk off. Okay. And so, really quick, I want to go over that here. Let me see this really quick. Okay, so higher time frame, understand, like I said, very bearish on all these. I think that if you're focused on the level here, like on YM, there was a beautiful inefficiency here. So like it was basically, this is your fair value gap, right? Inside of a half level, 25,150 and or 47,150, right? So anything above these old highs is a great short. Like anything above 100 is really good. Okay. 47.1. All right, and then so now that they've went back into the initial balance, that's the whole thing with this, is like I'm not gonna sit here and fight them and try to, figure out if this is gonna work or not. But I do still, me personally, see this rolling over. Okay, let me take a look at QQQ here. All right, QQQ is looking weak. Didn't fill that gap that I wanted to see them fill yet. So let's see here. Let me take a look at oil here. Okay, cool. Gold. Let me look at gold on smaller time frames. So let's see how gold traders are playing. Starting to look weak there. Cool. Okay, and then dollar. Dollar still sitting in the same spot. Okay, so looking at this from this perspective, like I said, to finish the stream here, and then I'll come back for a trade review later today. I would want to see this continue bearish throughout the day and roll over back into the initial balance. Even though they came for that risk, just because of the fact of how it responded in that area and then how overnight looks. I mean, look how aggressive, and look how many people are, who has the most chances to lose? All these people on the way up, right? But we could be in a bullish market as well, right? Based on the response from, when you're thinking about Fibonacci retracements, if you guys aren't familiar with that, I'm going to drop my fib levels. No, what's it saying? Welcome to live chat. Oh, I'm gonna drop my fib levels so you guys can have the same ones. But from low to the high of the week, right? We want to see a deeper retracement, potentially into the 71 or 78.6. Now, if we're bullish though, right? Thinking from low to high, right? So from buy side up to the sell side here, to the high on week. Oh, sorry, excuse me. Yeah, from this way to this way, what I'm thinking is this was my reference candle on 4 hour. Okay, this was my demand candle on 4 hour. This was the opening trade. This was literally the market open candle, guys. That was insane, right? And so they pushed the price down. They created a gap from this area to here, right? So we were focused on understanding where that new week opening gap is, right? And as we started to print bullish signals inside this gap and we're starting to hold these areas, this is what makes me think, if you're looking at smaller time frames like 15.5 intraday, stuff like that, that's what makes me have the perspective of understanding where intraday supply demand is and when to exit and when to understand that they're gonna run the price higher. Right? So we had a pretty good day, guys. I'm gonna hop off here. I'll probably be back on for actually I'll stay on for about another 15 minutes just to answer any questions, because I know some people have asked me some questions and stuff. So if you have any, this would be a great time. And then the other time that I'll be on is going to be later today for the trade review. Okay. But I feel like we did pretty good today in managing and doing what we need to do. So let me see here. And then let me see where Tay actually said I'm in sells 47K entry. So we can kind of look over that here really quick. I'm going to go take a look at that. Oops. So here's the YM trade. Let's look at 15 and 5. That's what I like to identify stuff on with my system. 47K, 47,000. Okay, cool. Where's New York Open? Let's see where New York Open was. No, I've already got New York Open. Cool. So I like it. You know, you have a inversion fair value gap right here on the way down. And so if you had the higher time frame inversion, that's a really, really good area. So let's look at this from a 3-window perspective here really quick. So we can look at small time frame of this all the way down, okay? Okay. So I like to play up here personally, just because it's in alignment with like the Fibonacci retracement that I want to see. So for example, what I'm saying is here is if you're taking a short and you're using, like you're wanting to shorten this area and you're using this liquidity zone, you're looking at this type of retracement. You're wanting to see about a 71, 78.6 retracement. And so if once it reached this area like it did, then when you go to smaller time frames, you're seeing the 5-minute fast up candle here, 840 to 845, and then you see the exhaustion candle away from the 47 150s, okay? Now, crown form, remember this, guys, when you can look at your let me do this really quick. When you can look at your chart, right, and you can do this, right, like on the chart, like you guys see, watch when I go back to, I'm not trying to flip you guys off, sorry, but when you can see that, like right here, that FU, that's the formation you're looking for inside your higher time frame areas, okay? So seeing that exhaustion right here, 845 to 846, and then the little tap back up into the 5-minute area. If you go back and frame this area, really, really good setup here. We'd like to risk 30 handles, right, max on a US 30 trade, right? That's just what I know with the ADR. And then 30 for 60. 30 for 30 is 1 to 1. 30 for 60 is 1 to 2. 30 for 90 is going to be your 1 to 3, okay? And so those are really good setups from there. And then the area that he took it was most likely the 5-minute play. So I would think that he probably took something like in this area here, 47K, and took it down to these areas here. Okay, so nice setup, man. Let's see what we get here. They're obviously just kind of testing those areas, so not going to overanalyze. Like I said, I'll stay on here for about another 10 minutes. Let's see what we get here. Okay, I'm going to move this because we're out of this trade, but I do want to say this. With them coming and tapping most people's trailed risk, this should be the rollover. So this is kind of like what I was saying. If you have the CFD, I'm playing that down to low of day. And then on the futures position, if you had 2 contracts, oh, sorry about the one. If you have 2 contracts, basically, then you could basically have stayed break even on one and let the runner run on a Friday. But like I said, I didn't want to like sit there and be there forever. And this isn't a market that me personally that I'm going to be buying in. I'm not going to buy in a market like this just because we're super bearish. All right, like you have a fast up candle here. It's like people shorted in here. What is this, YM? Oh, which one is he in there? Which one is he in? Oh, I thought he was selling this. Hold on. 46.9. Yeah, so just be careful on that, Tay, because on this one, because you already have a great trade that you popped off. They have a massive fast up candle, which is going to be like a supply candle. All right, so all this area is essentially supply, and then there's no 5-minute structure that points to going up yet, but we know YM could wild out. So, but like looking at the 5-minute from here, from what we kind of talked about yesterday, this is our low, this is our swing high, and everything pretty much from here is, this is a lower low, so this is a sign of weakness to go lower into the range. Potentially, not saying it's right or wrong, just kind of going off what I'm reading, all right? I do like what you're probably seeing though now, I'm looking over there too, is how we're respecting the, we need to mark the initial balance high here. So this is the initial balance high on YM. IB high, right? And if we continue to print, right, above those initial balance highs on all three, guys, if you guys are watching, NQ far right, ES in the middle, and then YM here on the left, if we can print bodies above initial balance highs, that means that we have signs of strength in the market to go higher. So I do like that. I do like that 900 area after looking at higher time frames. Good 5-minute sign of strength, and then like a 1-minute midi on the other side of that. Let me look at that, how that would plot up really quick. It's just that they're right there at that determining area, right? 30 handle risk. Nice 30 handle risk if you got 875s, which I think I seen your entry is 896. Let's move that up here. All right, so 896, 30 handle risk. Definitely already got a 1 to 3 secured, and he's probably risk off on a trade, and then looking for a slip above. Now, if it doesn't slip above and rolls over, he's already secured the bag based on the system. So great, good job, man. And if it does rally, right, which it definitely could based on H1s and stuff like that, we're looking at over almost a 10 to 1 getting back above market. Okay, so if he can get back above, the highs where the shorts are at, if this does go higher, then you're looking at like a 10 to 1 setup, which is fire. All right, so 1 hour 15, 5. And then this is risk off already. So, like I said, it just depends. Let me look at the 4 hour here. Oof, good 4 hour too. All right, let me see this from this perspective. Good 4 hour tap off demand. So this could be a good one, man. Could really be a good one. When they're hanging the price up in here like this, it's just, So we'll close out of here at 10. Like I said, I know I said 9:45, but we'll close out at 10 because I want to see if they're going to roll. And then I'm going to move this demand box as well. I'm also going to move these because these are obviously on the recordings. I can always go back and look at these areas later. Now, if you're in any positions right now, me personally, if I was looking at any positions, I'd probably look in short, guys, because like everything to me is showing me like, okay, if I took a short, like even right here, if I took it right now, right, which I'm not taking this, but if I took a short from like right in this area or like right inside this supply candle, even right here to me right now, on a 15, it feels like they're gonna possibly reach lower. But let me look at the 1 minute time frame. Yeah, it just doesn't, with that solid candle, 935, 940, if this candle was to whip, right, and go lower, it just seems like they want these guys right here, okay? Bang them. Would have been another 1 to 3. All right, and so it's probably break even on that, and I think the reason being is just because you're inside a massive supply candle. Selling above New York Open in bearish conditions would be a little bit easier on that one. But hey, partials are partials, baby. What a banger, dude. So we're getting what we wanted to see on NQ for sure. Wow, what a banger. Talk about 4 hour right? Talk about 4 hour, 1 hour here. I mean, that's a perfect setup inside that inefficiency, right? So when you're playing a 4 hour supply, like I'm playing the open of this candle right here, right? The push up candle, this white candle here, it's usually on a 1 hour going to be an inefficiency. It's usually going to be the 50% of the imbalance that you're playing. So I think that's a really good setup for the day. We had a banger. Could have definitely pumped out a little bit more on that without trailing the risk. Could have stayed break even. Could have been, should have been. But hey, we still got profits, right? Still did, I think. So that's another thing, guys. I use one account for high leverage, and then I do the other 4 for everyday day trading. Okay, so 4 across 4, it's like 1,600 or 600 times 4, whatever that is. Okay, let me check the chat here really quick. All right, cool. So with that New York low being delivered, that's what we wanted to see, guys. That's perfect. Bang, and that would have been another 1 to 3 right there in that situation. I actually personally take better trades, guys, on a 15-5 window than I do a 1. So that's why I like to trade this with you guys, because I have a better directional bias and locations of like what I'm looking for, and then I look for the 1 minute signal to enter the trade. So we've essentially been on here for about an hour. We started at what, 8:15, so 9:15, an hour and some change. Now, since the New York lows delivered, in a situation like this, you would already be break even, right? And your partial should have been undelivered, right? So now you'd be looking at, if you're short, if you're just specifically short from this area, you'd be looking at getting down the point of interest daily open and starting to like really run this range, right? This is your range low, this is your range high, right? And so knowing where that low is to high will really help out. And like I said, I really want to see points of interest and inefficiencies on the downside be filled. So like this is a fair value gap here, 24,550s, 24,500. Like this is a fair value gap. So those areas are where price can respond, and another spot is where shorts are gonna exit. Okay, take a look at this really quick. I didn't take this trade. I was just kind of like marking that up for him because I know he's not at the actual computer today. But seeing this 1 hour, 15 and 5, it seems like the same situation I was just talking about from a comparative strength analysis. Is like everybody's long already from overnight, right? So to long in this situation is going to be, it's just going to be more difficult. It's basically what I do sometimes too. So, or at least yesterday, I tried to long in that situation, still was able to partial, but then I was in the wrong direction. So, but because of our system, it doesn't matter how you take it, you're still going to be able to at least partial, I believe. All right, so CFD to the floor. Let's see what they do here. Bangers. Look at that close. So imagine, guys, this would have been another 1 to 3 delivered here, and then it's already pushing fairly quickly for the 1 to 5. So like I said, on a trade like this, you're already break even. So when I do this, if you guys see this, that means I would have risk off. Okay, and then we just know what our multiple is going to be. Okay, nice. Let me take some notes here really quick. Really good session. And remember what I talked about when you guys go back to the if you go back to the beginning of the stream for any reason, we talked about algorithmic price loves 80 levels, 24,780, and it loves 20 levels, okay? So now that we've broken structure and pushed to this area, 620s could have been an area where you maybe see some, retracements back up before fall. But I think based on what we're seeing here today, we're going to see this imbalance fill that's in alignment with the Friday daily open, okay? Let me look at that daily candle as well really quick. Beautiful. Beautiful. Bang. So that would have been another position closed out if you guys were in those, okay? Bangers. It should be dripping here. Same thing, I use the same fibs on all three, right? So you have your initial balance low, your current high on day, and usually you want to see point of interest be delivered and efficiency. So this is your imbalance on that way up, where I think the shorts could exit, a lot of their positions and buys could take over. But if not, then like I said, we have a far way down to the key level, which I had marked out earlier this week, 46,600s. So I use these to be able to see what I'm wanting to see overall market status with this, like overall with the all the assets here. And then let's talk about this really quick because we talked a lot about YM here. Let's talk a little bit about ES and NQ, okay? Because this was really nice. If we go back and we study 15 and 5 price, right? On ES, you have a 15-minute fast up candle, right? 8:30 open. You have your 5-minute sign of weakness, 8:45 to 8:50. You have that little pump up candle but fails to body close higher. You have your 8:55 to 9 exhaustion, and then the push back into the area with a 5-point risk. You're looking at over right now, like with this delivery here, right? If it was to deliver down, depending on your entry, right? You've already scaled pretty much like a 1 to 10. Or if you partialed like we do at that 1 to 3 mark, you're floating right now half of 8. So you still got 4R on the board, right? With securing the bag. That's a banger, dude. That's a banger. Especially on ES, because I mean 1 mini, right? 1 mini on ES, you're risking $50 a handle. So 5 points, that's $250 risk. And if you have 40 handles secured, half of 40 is 20, that's $2,000. Bro, like I damn near probably gonna start trading ES here one day soon, because if you're risking 2 minis, right? 2 mini system, you can go micros with them too. You don't have to do 2 minis. But if you're doing 2 minis in that situation, you're risking $100 a handle, so a point as a handle, and that would be a $500 risk right now for a $4,000 gain, dude. That's crazy, right? And think about it really quick. If you had 2 contracts, in that same entry, and price goes 1 to 3, like it fairly quickly, right? You're cutting 1 contract, so you still have 1 contract running, and it's 40 handles, so you're still floating $2,000 in profit. If that makes sense. That's awesome. That's a banger trade. So we've gotten to the imbalance. So I've got a lot on here. Let me take some of this stuff off so no one's confused here. All right, we've gotten into that inefficiency, that imbalance, where this is where I would anticipate. Like if I was still holding those futures, I still have CFD and I've trailed risk down to like 24/7s. But if I still had the futures positions, I would be anticipating this as like a fair value gap, right? FEG, or it's gonna start saying FEG, but for right now it says imbalance. I would anticipate to watch for small price action inside the imbalance or fair value gaps and at points of interest, okay? Because all you're essentially thinking is that anybody that's short, if you're still short or like where we shorted from, they're going to cover because they're literally, let's see how many points they would be in profit now. They're literally 200 plus handles in profit, right? So they start covering and buy limits start to fill. But it's Friday, guys. Like I could really see them slumping this price based on the H4 and based on higher time frame, let's just say. I could see them basically rolling over, but at the same time, right, when you look at higher time frame here, I need to let it load for a second. when you see that higher time frame here, we still have quite a bit of room, like I've talked about on higher time frame, this demand candle here, right? This big candle here, we have a lot of room to still fill on that candle and slip lower, right? So we'll see here going into 10 a.m. before we end the stream, right? Are they going to slip structural low, right? Like we have this low down here, right? That structural low. Or are they getting ready to fill this imbalance, right? Shorts are going to cover in a position like that, and we see a recovery. I'm for the recovery just because how fast the short actually happened. I mean, that was 1 hour and we went 750, 650, 550, right? That's what, that's almost 200. Like I said, 200 handles in 1 hour. It's a beautiful move. What else could you ask for, right? Yeah, this is typical. This is a typical move, though, to be honest. That's why we're holding. Like, so if you guys got the swing accounts, right? Like Nas 100, we're taking the same trades over there, right? Same inefficiency, everything. 24,750 though. The price for right now, the price is the same, but I think once we triple or we do this next week and we switch contracts for the next quarter, I think the price will be off a little bit from Nas to NQ. But as of right now, if you took that trade in there, we're shooting for the lows for about 370 handles, right? So, I mean, you can literally put 50 cents a move over there if you want to, right? On the same trade you're taking on futures. But on a higher time frame perspective and knowing where the daily is and knowing that this essentially is massive consolidation, right? Like this is all this, right? Into here from where we're at, like from this wick, like this is outside the range, right? All this inside of here though is consolidation on the daily. So now you've got, if you're really studying price and really studying body candle closures, you've got a new lower low on the daily bar, right? Like an actual bearish candle. So me seeing that lets me know that they could definitely release price, if you're looking at the middle screen, down into the higher time frame. But all this price you're seeing here, so under the yesterday's previous day low, which was here, if we get down below that area, people are going to start shorting breakouts, and that's where I think they could maybe recover, buying below market open in a bullish condition, essentially, if it's going to stay bullish. If not, they slip the market open, and then we haven't really talked about this that much, but then the weekly candle here, as you can see, right, will turn bearish if this daily starts to really roll right into that area, and then this week will be bearish. So the only way, if the week goes bearish, that'd be us going from the open of the week was, so like let me show you guys this. Does this make sense? Like we're looking at a weekly, we look at a small time frame here, right? We know where the market open is. That's why we always mark the market open 24,500. Because if that weekly goes bearish, it's going to be bearish once it slips under this level, right? But if that weekly starts to turn on and starts to turn, the bullish signs, right? Then you're going to see price reclaim in these points of interest or at the imbalance at market open to then go higher. And it'll stay consolidated right here, right? But we had a really nice open of the candle for the week. Right, really, really nice open. That 4-hour candle drips down, takes out the daily liquidity, hits the demand level 24,000, and then pushes back up. So very interesting week, I would say personally. But when you've got overnight players, let me make this go off. When you've got overnight players up, on this situation, let's just say from 24,400 key level, and you're trying to buy above. If you're trying to buy anywhere here above the initial balance high, no disrespect, but that's a noob trade. Like it's just not, it's not gonna be the area that you want. Let me post this here real quick. This is something that you guys can use. I'm gonna give you guys really quick. Is understanding the price cycles of things, right? As we pushed up, right, price is overbought. So kind of like seeing it like this, right? We push up, price is overbought, supply is greater than demand. You're going to see a rollover and price go down. Okay. What a banger. What a banger. Things I could work on. Let's see today. Stay break even on the remainder. That's about it. And then I want to pan over to this really quick because that was a really good setup too. How did I mess up that thing here? Okay, so now if we can look at this here really quick, that ES, man, that ES trade was fire. I don't know. I think this was the most fire trade of the day. All right, so now we've filled imbalance 1. This is imbalance 2, and now we have another one. We have another one in this situation. I think they're gonna tank it, guys. I think they're just gonna push it lower. But we'll be out of here by 10 regardless. If you do have the CFD trades, I would go ahead and push it down to the, like if you have that area and you just want to secure the bag and not pay the fees for the overnight or just holding it, I would secure down to the New York low that got taken. So like if you have anywhere above 24,700, you would want to secure down to New York low at this point, because this is going to be that key area, right? As we reach inside demand H1 and 15, where price could return, like where shorts could cover and buyers could step in. So. We'll take a look here at YMs. Makes a lot of sense. Inside supply, in an imbalance fill, like failed to go above market. This is a beautiful one too. Okay, so let me take a look at gold really quick. QQQ is falling. Perfect. Gold and silver definitely falling, which is a good sign. Let me show this really quick too. All right, we talked about these being very high, right? 53 being a level of exit of supply to see price destroy trendline traders, okay? So all the noobs online, right? All the influencers, all the people who supposedly trade gold and silver, now they're not trading anymore because the market isn't bullish and they can just buy every day, okay? And so that's why you've seen a lot of traders disappear from those markets and trading them, because they don't know what to do when the markets are bearish, right? But we learn to look at things from a perspective of, I can flip this. I know it looks like upside down, so I can like basically be like, well, you know, I don't trick myself. I go with what's actually printing. So guys, it's 10 a.m. We've been on here for a while. We found really, really good setups, I think. If you're holding any of those positions, I'll kind of tell you guys what I would do, and then we'll hop off of here, okay? So with the remainder of the positions, like I said, if you have CFD, I would push everything down to where they broke New York low, or go ahead and secure the 24,600s. If you have anything above 750s, you're securing at like 150 handles and walking away. That's awesome. And then on the comparative strength of all of them, when you're looking at where this is, we're back to daily open, we're inside the inefficiency here, we're back to demand on ES, and we're essentially back to the 1 hour demand here. So I'm not going to guess what's going to happen, but based on what we're seeing here, I feel like we have a lot more room on H4, NQ, and ES to reach down for the initial balance lows. So 24,400 is initial balance low here, 24, and then 6640 is initial balance low here. Now there could be a really good cover, right, on shorts later today in the PM, but I'm grateful for what they gave us. So With that being said, I appreciate you guys watching. They'll be in the Telegram, in the free Telegram. If you haven't joined, there'll be a schedule for next week. We'll either go Monday through Friday, or we're going to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Just depends on what kind of news we're looking at, and how everything's looking. But appreciate you guys watching. Be on the lookout later today for the trade review, going over essentially what you've probably watched if you've been here. Okay, so appreciate you guys. Talk to you later. Have a good rest of your day.